Today on the Analog Drew Says podcast, I'm going to be sharing the benefits of not constantly upgrading your equipment. Then I will be a full-on hypocrite and share every piece of equipment I have upgraded in this studio over the last year. So if you feel like pointing and laughing at a hypocrite today, this is your podcast. This is a podcast for you, so go ahead and stick around. Let's start with the benefits of not constantly upgrading your equipment. And benefit number one is super duper obvious. By not constantly buying new stuff, you are saving money. I know your mind is blown. If you are not spending money, you are able to keep that money in your bank account. Ergo, you are saving it. And I know, since I know you so well. When you don't spend money, you think, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that money into a Roth IRA. I'm going to put it into a 401k, invest in index funds, not financial advice. And then at retirement, I am going to have a retirement account it has a healthy balance and I can live comfortably. I know you, and I know that's exactly what you thought when I said, this is going to save you money. You thought, I don't want to spend that money for 40 years. You didn't think, I'm going to buy another guitar pedal. I'm going to buy another G-Shock. No, I'm going to buy another hat with Bigfoot on it. You didn't think that. You thought, I'm going to put this into an account where I will not see it for 30 to 40 years. I know you that well. I know I'm kind of joking, but that is a serious benefit. Not upgrading means you're able to save money. And as things get more expensive for all of us, it is important to maybe not pinch our pennies. That kind of sounds derogatory, but at least be more conscious of what we're doing, understand the impact of spending money unnecessarily. So by not constantly upgrading, you're able to use the gear that you have, of course, assuming it's not broken or anything. You can use what you have and save that money for a rainy day, whether it be for bills or in case you do want to actually throw that into some kind of high-yield savings account or into a retirement account that may or may not have some kind of tax benefits now or when you withdraw it. Benefit number two is less obvious, but I think even better for you. As you do not upgrade your gear, you are able to learn what you have and hopefully become more efficient and effective at whatever you're doing. I will focus mainly on audio recording because that's what I do. But if you choose to upgrade your gear constantly, you are adding unnecessary hurdles and unnecessary learning curves to the production process. If you change microphones, that's not the biggest deal. It's less exaggerated, but you still need to understand the quirks of the microphone, the off-axis coloration, off-axis rejection. If it has polar patterns, which one's the best sounding to you? Which one is the best use case for you? If it has filters, do they sound good on voice? Do they sound good on sound source X, Y, or Z? You need to give yourself time to learn what you have, and that is going to slow down the production process unless you're able to allocate that time outside of the actual recording that you're trying to do. If you're upgrading an interface, that's a lot more in-depth, especially if it has some kind of control software, especially if it has a bunch of I/O. You need to understand, how do the preamps perform? Does it have processing? What are the different plugins that are available? What kind of latency is there? Am I able to burn in processing? Can I do both? How do I run out of the interface into analog gear back? It just adds hurdles. And that is something that we as individuals who are recording are trying to eliminate. We want the gear to disappear. And by keeping the same gear over and over again, or just not keeping it over and over again, but just keeping it. That's a weird way to put it. I am keeping this SM7B over and over and over again every day. I'm keeping it. But as you continue to use the same gear, you'll learn about it. I understand the shortcomings of the SM7B. It is very, very quiet. So I need to use it closer. I also understand when using this microphone, I should probably use a cleaner preamp. I'm kind of breaking that rule. I'm using the Universal Audio LA610 Mark II, which is a tube preamp, not the cleanest out there. But I understand the quirks and I can work around them and work within the limitations. But once you throw a wrench into the gears, you're going to have to allocate time to figure it out, or the new gear, could become a hurdle or a roadblock when you're trying to get a creative idea out there. The third benefit piggybacks off of the last one. Once you stop thinking about the gear, once you stop nitpicking everything that you have, it allows the gear to just disappear and you're able to just start using it. It's important to remember why we buy the gear that we do. We don't buy the gear because, oh, cool, people are going to like me now. We buy the gear because these are tools to convey creative ideas. If you're a creative person, you know this all too well, but creative ideas are fleeting. They will come, and if there is a roadblock in your way, they will disappear before you're able to get them out. That is why becoming familiar with your gear, understanding the intricacies, understanding how to work with it, and then just ignore it, get it working and just don't think about it is amazing, because when you have a creative idea, get in front of the microphone, record. When you have an idea for a video, get in front of the camera, hit record, go. Once you start throwing in this constant changing lineup of gear, of cameras, of lenses, of microphones, of interfaces, of preamps, it just confuses things. It just makes things more difficult, unnecessarily difficult. And that could be the roadblock that means that creative idea you had went away. And you're never going to recapture that. And if you've ever written a song, you know how maddening that is. When you're just goofing around thinking, oh gosh, that part was really cool. What the hell was it? And it's gone forever. You're never going to find it again. So by eliminating those roadblocks, eliminating those hurdles, just not thinking about the gear and just having it working, it is one of the best things you can do if you're a creative person. Stop thinking about it and just create. That is why we have all this stuff that we have. The cameras, the microphones, the interfaces, the guitars, the pedals, because they are tools to get the ideas, convey the ideas that are in our heads out. Get them out so we don't freak out, man. You are freaking out, man. Gotta tell you, this last week, that really hurt. My stress has been right up here. Those are the benefits of not constantly upgrading your gear. If you have any other benefits that you can think of, let me know in the comments on YouTube. I'd love to hear from you. Again, saving money, learning the gear that you have would allow you to become more efficient. And once you understand the gear, it allows the gear to just disappear. And you can just be creative without having to constantly nitpick and worry about whatever it is you're using. Let me know in the comments down below. All right, get your fingers ready, stretch them out, because it is now time to point and laugh at the hypocrite, because I'm going to share all of the studio tech upgrades that I have made over 2024. Number one for me, I don't want to sound dramatic. This is paradigm shifting for me. This is the Radial JCR Studio Reamper. This allows you to run a guitar directly into this. You can output this then into your audio interface and capture that DI signal, but then also it allows you to output that DI signal and run it back into your guitar amp and alter the tone after you've actually recorded. The reason this is such a big deal for me is in the past, I have recorded songs, I have recorded demos, I have recorded samples, and I have loved the performance, but thought the tone or the microphone placement was garbage, and I wanted to change that up. In order to do that, I just had to play the same part over again. And as I get more and more critical and try to be more precise with my timing, which I still suck at, I still suck at. I realized you couldn't understand what I said. it gets difficult. It takes up a lot more time. So by utilizing this reamp box, I was able to get one really solid performance. Or I guess it was 4 because I had 2 rhythm tracks, a center track, and then a lead track. I could get those 4 performances the way I liked them, and then if I was unhappy with the placement of the microphone, I could just reroute that signal out back through the guitar amp, adjust the microphone placement, adjust the amp tone, adjust the pedal settings, and get the tone, get the sound that I want. This was incredibly beneficial during my U87 versus TLM49 comparison video. I had a hell of a time getting similar mic positions. I had to come back to it 3 days later over and over and over again to try to get the placement right, try to figure out how to get the placement accurate and consistent and comparable. If I didn't DI that, I would have probably put my fist through, I don't know, the universe, having to play those same 4 parts 100 times over 3 days. I would have lost my mind. So this is unironically one of the best pieces of gear that I have picked up over the last couple of years. Huge change in how I have approached guitar recording and eliminated a lot of redundant work. Thank God. Number 2 is much more fun. It is a guitar pedal. This is the Boss Chorus CE2W, which is a classic Boss chorus pedal, but it is a Wazacraft. I don't know what that means, but it's supposed to be better. And if you have listened to any of the music sections of my review videos, you know that I have shifted my style quite a bit. It used to just be pop punk, palm muting, 1-4-5-1, 1-4-5-6-1. I've changed it quite a bit, and it's a lot more 80s inspired. It's a lot more synthwave inspired, and I picked this chorus pedal up this last year, and as soon as I turned this on, I just thought, oh, I'm in the 80s, and I loved that. I don't use it as much as I should because I was overusing it for a bit. Everything just sounded the exact same. Oh, here's another kind of clean arpeggio and an 80s style lead tone. Just the exact same thing, which is fine, but I wanted to try to force myself out of that, so I haven't been using it as much. But I just love chorus. I love arpeggios. I also picked up the delay pedal from Boss, but that's a lot less obvious, a lot less noticeable, and not as fun. So this is another super fun upgrade that I made this year that I have had a blast using and will likely be using for years to come. After that, we have a drum machine. I didn't realize I picked this up this year. It was January of this year. It is the Arturia Drum Brute Impact. I got this because I wanted to improve my preamp reviews. In the past, I still wanted to include drum samples, but I'm not a drummer. I don't have a drum machine. So I was using a software drum machine, routing that out through my interface, and then running that signal back through the preamp, overdriving it, and just getting the tone that way. That's good, great, and grand. Probably could have kept doing that. But where's the fun in that? Like I said, point and laugh at the hypocrite. Where's the fun in that? Why wouldn't I just want to spend $300, I think it was, to get an analog mono drum machine that obviously has much fewer sounds available compared to a digital software-based drum machine that has essentially unlimited sounds available. But I think the addition of an analog drum machine is more beneficial, or maybe more of a realistic application of preamps, because I don't think many people are going to be running a software drum machine, routing that out through their interface, then through a preamp to overdrive the preamp, and then recapturing that. I imagine the people who are looking to use a drum machine with a preamp are rocking an analog outboard drum machine, so that's why I picked this up. And also, I was just curious about it and wanted to try it out, and it is fun. It hasn't been as inspiring for me as a new guitar, a new pedal, something like that, because I am a guitarist primarily. But it is still an enjoyable, new creative avenue to explore, I guess, if I can be a little bit hoity-toity. How about some even sexier stuff that we discuss? Storage. Look out. Look out. I know. You are stoked. Storage. First up, I started editing off of external SSDs for my videos. I used to edit off of my computer's internal drive. And once I started editing 4K videos, yikes, that storage filled up quickly. And by switching to external SSDs, I didn't run into any issues with speed because these are very quick nowadays. I have Thunderbolt 3 or 4, I don't know. I have fast ports on my computer, so there's no bottlenecks there. I do still run out of space very frequently, especially considering I have, 3 or 4 hours of 4K footage from Pagoa Episode 1. Because I still want to make a few corrections, do a few additional tests, and then re-export that and drop the full 1+ hour episode on Podcastage. So that takes up 1 terabyte or so of my external SSD. Hence, I recently bought a 4 terabyte SSD. So much money. But I will get that set up, and it will make my life even better. I won't have to worry about constantly deleting every single week the stuff that I am done with. And then, are you ready for even sexier stuff? More storage. I have a NAS over here, network attached storage, where I back up all my finalized videos to, all the wave audio. I threw another 8 terabyte HDD, hard drive disk, whatever it's called, in there. 8 terabytes, look out, dude. Sexiest stuff ever. NAS storage, look out. I don't think I bought any plugins this year. I did not get any new DAWs, any software, no cameras, no lenses, no lighting, none of that. Very basic. YouTube production remains consistent. Nothing has really changed other than a reamp box and a chorus pedal. See, I still do keep to what I was saying for the most part. I'm not constantly upgrading the primary portions of my studio that would cause bottlenecks, that would create really difficult to overcome learning curves. I'm not doing that. I'm just adding a little bit of flavor. I'm just throwing some salt in the studio. That is what I have upgraded. Let me know in the comments down below. What have you upgraded over the last year? Anything super sexy like an external SSD. Or maybe you got one of those boring new microphones, or maybe an audio interface. Ugh, boring. But storage, external SSD, yum. I hate myself. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and now talk about my most used audio gear of 2024. I went through all of my podcasts and I tallied them up on a sheet of paper. Let's go ahead with third place. The third most used microphone on this podcast was a 3-way tie. We have the Neumann, hello Neumann, KMS 105, the Neumann, hello Neumann, BCM 104, and the Neumann, hello Neumann, U67 reissue. Each of those I used 3 times on this podcast. So 9 episodes this year used those Neumann microphones. I didn't even realize I was such a Neumann fanboy. They just sound good. Tell me I'm wrong. I know people will disagree. Those mics just sound good, hence why I use them so much. That's third place, 3-way tie. Second place, the Shure SM7B. Hello, Shure. I used this, including this episode, 4 times this year. but I use this quite a bit elsewhere. I used it a lot in my weekly voice chat. I used it in some other videos on YouTube. This is just, it's almost always on the stand. If this isn't on the stand, the winner this year was on the stand. And it's my go-to. It's my old faithful. I know how it sounds. I'm comfortable with it. I'm familiar with it. I know how it works with my voice. Some people do dislike it. They think it sounds too low detail, too boring, too dead sounding. They like me on condensers more. But for the most part, I don't get complaints about this. I think it sounds good. I feel confident on how I sound on it, and that's half the battle. That's half the battle. And first place, go ahead and leave your guesses down below or send in an email to guess which microphone was number one on the Bandrew Says podcast at gmail.com. That's not a real email. Do not send anything. Your guesses are in good. Number one was the Neumann. Hello, Neumann U87AI. This should not be a surprise to a single person as nothing is in focus on this camera. Absolutely embarrassing. I'm a professional YouTuber. How can I be this bad at it? The Neumann U87 on this podcast, I used it for 5 episodes. I may end up using it next week, so that'll bump it up to 6. I also kind of relaunched a podcast I had been doing, and I used that microphone for it, so throw a few more episodes there. I used it on every single podcastage microphone review, so yeah, that's no surprise. No surprise that was number one. And frankly, I just like how it sounds. Do I like the U67 reissue better? Of course. But I just dislike the maintenance, the warm-up, the extra fragility of tube microphones. So that's why I use this more than the 67, even though I think the 67 it's the best sounding microphone I have, in my opinion. But due to convenience, this was number one. Any shocks there? Let me know. Any upsets? Is there one that you think I should have used more? That I should have used less? Let me know. Now let's talk about my most used headphones over the last year. And honestly, this is identical to 2023. For tracking, I use the NTH100s from Rode. Full disclosure, these were sent by Rode, but these are just comfortable. They're pleasant to listen to. I don't have any real issues with them. This is my second pair because the first one did break right at the joint, but I have not had that issue with the second pair, and for tracking, they work wonderfully. For more critical listening, I still rely on the Sennheiser HD650s, which are open backs. I just think some of the best sounding headphones for my preference. Absolutely love them. For more convenient listening, I use the AirPods Pro 2. I do also check every single recording, every single demo on these because I like hearing it across as many different headphones as I can. But for every single day exercising, I use these because the noise cancellation is fantastic. For podcasts, I very frequently will use these because the noise cancellation is fantastic. Do they sound amazing? Not compared to these other headphones, but they work well enough. They're comfortable. I can wear them all day. No issues whatsoever. If I am unplugging and don't want to be on my phone, I will rely on some IEMs. The IEMs I use, again, have not changed. They are the Dunu SA6s. I tortured Metal 571 to give me a recommendation 1.5 years ago or so, and this is what he recommended to me based on my preference, and I still absolutely adore them. They sound incredible, and they are a bit expensive, but hey, I've gotten 1 year of use out of them so far, and hopefully another 10, and we'll be good. Those are the most used headphones over the last year. What about audio playback? Why am I sharing this? I have no idea. Nobody's saying, "Oh, Bandrew, how do you listen back to your audio? What devices do you use?" As my pencil runs out of lead. Mainly, I do use the iPhone. That is just pure convenience. I love Apple Music. I will put on my radio, I will put on my recommended playlist and find new artists. This year, I discovered Bayside, and I talked about them a lot a couple weeks ago because I love it so much. And Apple Music seems to know me a bit too well. It's kind of scary. They knew I was going through a mood this week. They knew I was stressed up to here, just freaking out, man. And my random playlist, it went from Old Man's Child, then it went to At the Gates, then it went to Ed Gein, and then it went to Walls of Jericho. So it just went black metal, Swedish metal, just aggressive grindcore, whatever, to super hardcore. They knew I was going through it. So Apple knows me a bit too well, and that's kind of freaky. But I love Apple Music. Also, getting automatic downloaded podcasts is very convenient. But I try not to do that because if I have my phone near, if I am connected with AirPods, it will announce notifications to me, and that drives me crazy. Even if I'm in Do Not Disturb, some people I have on my favorites, I will get notifications, and if I'm stressed at work and it starts reading me a long message, I will freak out and start yelling and start swearing, and I think Siri has it out for me because I said, "Oh my God, shut the F up, stop it." I said that when it was reading me a long message. It sent that in reply to the person. So I had to call the person and explain. And I don't think I have laughed that hard in years. I was crying on the phone. I was laughing so hard because I said, "Oh my God, shut the F up, stop it." And this person sent a really nice message, and that's the response they got. So that's my issue with AirPods and Apple. I do try to unplug. For podcasts, I still use the SanDisk ClipJam MP3 headphone amp, stinky, noisy, but it has podcast playback, battery life is great, Audible integration, which I do not use because I have been so focused at work, I cannot listen to anything most of the day now, especially not an audiobook. But that is for just podcast playback. And then for audiophile level music playback, I'll use the Channeling M0 Pro, teeny tiny digital audio player. I really wish one of these not podcast players, digital audio player manufacturers would listen. I have tried FiO, I have tried Channeling, and I have tried another one. I emailed all of those companies saying, "Hey, I have this player. Do you know what would be wonderful? What would make this perfect?" Throw in basic podcast functionality, folders based on show title, which is in the ID3 tags, remembering the playback location, the addition of playback speed. Go ahead and add a plus or minus 10 or 15 second button. That's all it needs. Do you know what they have all said to me? Just go ahead and buy one of our full Android versions and download one of those players. No, I will not be doing that because I do not want to carry a phone in my pocket. The reason I like these teeny tiny players is because they are teeny tiny players. They are like an iPod Nano back in the day. They fit in your pocket well, they're not burdensome, and they have decent headphone amps. Pretty bad battery life, but decent headphone amps. So I am still waiting for one of them. Please, for the love of God, for the love of the few things good in this world, just add podcast playback functionality. I will give you my money. I will give you my money. You clearly don't want it. Or the market for that is just so small it's not worth your time or money, which I get as well. But let me be selfish for a while. I want to give you my money and you do not want it. That is my most used audio player. And what else do I have? Let's talk about stuff that I want to upgrade over the coming year because why not laugh more at the hypocrite? The first thing that I am looking forward to, the first piece of tech that I'm looking forward to in 2024 is a new audio interface. I know I discussed the difficulty of changing an audio interface, learning the new workflow, knurling the new software, learning the Lou software. But it's time. I have been using the Focusrite 18i20 2nd Gen for 5-6 years, I think. It is 2 generations outdated. I get criticized quite a bit. Why do you still use that? It's old. It stinks. You need to upgrade it. And I didn't want to. Finally, Focusrite released the 4th Gen 18i20, and I just put an order in for it. So I will be doing a comparison between the 2nd Gen and 4th Gen, doing a microphone comparison across both of them so we have a point of reference. And then going forward, once that's all set up, the 18i20 4th Gen will be the new audio interface I use for all of my reviews. So finally, I am upgrading that after 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been, and everybody can stop complaining. You're using an outdated interface. I know people will still complain. You're using a Focusrite. Oh, it sounds so bad. Oh God, no, the audio's terrible. You're using that microphone with that interface? To everybody who just complains about using a Focusrite, that's what you sound like to me. It's the most popular audio interface. It's giving the most people an accurate understanding of what kind of performance they should expect out of the microphones that they get. And do you really think you're hearing this, completely chewed up, awful sounding audio based on Focusrite's converters over YouTube? I doubt it. And I know you don't listen to the audio that is on podcastish.com. Okay, now that I have burned a bunch of bridges and pissed a bunch of people off, what's the next thing I'm looking forward to? A microphone. This is not something that's going to change my personal production workflow or anything. It's just something that I have been looking forward to for quite a long time. It is the Neumann TLM 107. I just placed the order today, and I cannot wait to get it. I have been saving for 4 months to get this because I refuse to go into debt to buy it. And the reason I'm most excited about this, or why I am so excited about it, is all of the Neumann mics that I have used are kind of older designs. The TLM 103, maybe not the TLM 102, I need to look at the release date of that. But U87, U67, TLM 49, those are all older large diaphragm condenser designs, or at least references back to older designs. The 107 seems like a much more modernized version of an LDC from Neumann, and that came out in 2013, so it's just over 10 years old, and I want to see what it sounds like. I cannot wait to try it out, put it through its paces, do a full review, do a bunch of comparisons, and share that, because I just haven't... I intentionally haven't gone out and listened to any reviews or demos, but I am just stoked to see what a modern Neumann microphone sounds like, because all I've heard is they're older inspired, like throwback reference microphones. And the last thing is just something purely for fun for me. I bought an old 2000 CD player on eBay a couple of years ago because I have a bunch of CDs, and sometimes I want to unplug and even get away from digital audio players. And when I want to do that, I pull up a CD player. The headphone amp in that thing, stinky, noisy, especially when I'm using IEMs. It's not ideal. So I just saw the announcement recently of the FiiO DM13 desktop CD player. I need to look at reviews and see how it performs in terms of headphone amp, in terms of all of that, but it looks promising because FiiO is an audiophile community, so I am assuming they're going to have a decent headphone amp, and that would be ideal. I'm not going to put it in my back pocket or clip it to my belt and go jogging with this thing. It's going to be a desktop CD player, but I do not have one that has a good headphone amp. So if I am able to get that, I'm going to check reviews when it comes out and when a lot of people have it and see what they say, and we'll go from there. But that's something that I am actually excited about. that is it for all the gear talk. Let us now jump to what you had to say. First comment comes from Nathan Lundstrom, and he says, as for success, you can only measure success by the things you can control. You can celebrate milestones, but those milestones may not be entirely in your control, like view count. Nathan, thank you very much for the comment. I think that is amazing advice and an amazing approach to measuring success and celebrating milestones. I had never differentiated measuring success and milestones. I had always conflated the two, but I think going forward, I am going to differentiate the two. I will measure success based on things that I have control over, that I can influence, and then celebrate the milestones. I have always viewed these milestones as success, as accomplishments that I achieved. I did that. The only reason that happened is because of me. But really, those things are out of my control. Those things, subscriber count, view count, that is all because of the YouTube algorithm. Honestly, YouTube algorithm. Yes, I was online. I was on YouTube. I was putting in time and effort into videos. They could have easily just died on the vine. So those metrics that are outside of my control, they are milestones. I think they should be celebrated. But as far as measuring success, I think they could still be viewed as measures of success, but I don't think they should be the only measure of success. Maybe I'm wrong there. I like the idea though. Going forward, I am going to do my best, because you could already see I'm conflicted here. Going forward, I am going to try to only measure my success based on things that I have control over, while still appreciating and celebrating those milestones, like hitting 250,000 subs or hitting 100 million views. If we ever do that, last time I checked, we were like 80. So we'll see in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, maybe one day we'll hit it. But that is a great piece of advice, and I am going to do my best to internalize that. Thank you very much, Nathan. Next, we have a comment from 45 Kevin R, and he says, thought-provoking on the podcast topic. My view is that starting off now, you have to view it as a creative hobby, like painting or gardening or whatever. And if enough people respond to it, then maybe you can treat it more seriously. But for that, you need topic and personality and luck. Those who started 5 or 10 years ago and got lucky have to have benefited from being in a much smaller pond. Now it's a huge ocean, and only going viral for something else might make you big quickly, like Hawk Girl. Kevin, thank you very much for the comment, and thank you for sharing your thoughts here. I kind of agree with you and kind of disagree with you. I do agree that if you started 5 or 10 years ago, when there were fewer creators prior to the dark times, it was a little bit easier because there was less competition. However, we had the exact same thought back in 2015. There are too many YouTubers. There are too many creators. There's not enough ocean for us. There's not enough views for us. There's not enough viewers for us. What are we going to do? It's too late to start. This idea of it being too late to start has been around since YouTube started. 2008 rolls around. It's too late to start. Nobody's going to be as big as Ryan Higa. Nobody's going to be as big as Shane Dawson. Nobody's going to be as big as Smosh. Nobody's going to be as big as Ray William Johnson. This is a constant battle people have. It's too late for me to start. I disagree with that completely. Is it more difficult now? Yes. Production has gone up. People have become more talented. People understand YouTube a bit better. Corporations have come in and flooded the market as well, so there is a lot more competition. But I don't think that you need to go viral or something. I don't think that's necessary, especially because I disagree with the idea that you need to make it big quickly. I've been doing this podcast for 10 years. I still haven't made it in most people's eyes. It's just some lowly loser podcaster. I think I've made it. I think this is amazing. The fact that I get 30, 40 comments a week it's mind-blowing. So in my eyes, I have made it. I just wanted to push back a little bit on the idea of it's too late, or maybe people who started earlier got a bit luckier. Kind of. There was less competition. The algorithm was different. But you still had to show up. You still had to put in the work. So it wasn't pure luck. And a lot of people could have started 5 or 10 years ago, but they thought, it's too late for me. And I'm sure many of those people are still thinking, it's too late for me. So if you do want to start, as you point out so intelligently, so succinctly, or what's the word? So rightfully, let's go with that. As you pointed out so correctly, you should go into it viewing it as a creative hobby like painting, gardening, or whatever. Because that's what made YouTube so amazing in the beginning. It was just people who did it because it was a creative outlet. That's why 2005 to 2010 or so was the golden age of YouTube. Then 2010 to 2015 was the edgy golden age of YouTube. But prior to that, when monetization really wasn't a thing, nobody really understood, you can make a lot of money this way. It was just people doing it because they had something funny they wanted to share. They had this creative idea they wanted to get out. And that's what made YouTube special. That's what made YouTube unique. So I agree with you 100% there. I think people should start a YouTube channel or a podcast because they want this creative hobby. They want a creative outlet. Not because they want to get famous, rich, whatever, get a bunch of partners, get laid a bunch or whatever. Do it because you have this burning desire to make something creative, and do it. I agree with you completely. I agree with that. That's one person is going to get that reference. I agree with that. All right. Thank you very much, Kevin. Next comment comes from MEI Studio. Pags from MEI Studio. He says, you asked, so here was my take on becoming a creator. Happened by accident, kind of. My kid wanted a channel for his train stuff, so we started it together. I did some things on things I know about, and he did his thing. We were figuring out how it all worked together. We agreed to release at least a video a week for a year to give it the old college try, even though he's still in elementary school. He's advanced for his age, lol. Once the year was up, my sub count was near the monetization mark, so I figured why not push a little longer. Once I hit my goal, so to speak, my priorities shifted back to family and business. I stopped the weekly upload and put videos together when I could fit the time in, which I'm still doing now. I recently tried to just bang out like 4 videos in one day to have some banked material, but I don't think I'm going to do that again. Maybe 2, but not 4. Going forward, once I retire, I think I'll put more time and effort into this and do it more full time. Since our content, yours and mine, is essentially evergreen, building up the base now made sense since all of my videos continue to bring in views long after they've been published. As you said, priorities and situations change. Being able to flow with the changes seems to work with this stuff. I went months without releasing content when the studio got busy, and I didn't lose any subs, so seems to be okay to not be on a hard schedule for my stuff. Just going to the flow with it. Pags, thank you very much for the comment, and thank you for sharing your journey into becoming a content creator. I think that really is awesome that you just started a YouTube channel because you wanted to do something fun with your kid. You can make YouTube videos together, work through it, help him with his channel. He could help you with yours. That is just awesome and super duper wholesome. But then I think you hit on something really important. This is something that will shift with time. We are fortunate enough to be in a focus that does allow you to create much more evergreen content. So we have a bit more leeway in terms of release schedules. We are fortunate enough to be able to produce a video today reviewing microphone X, Y, or Z, a U87, a 7B, and that video will still be relevant, hopefully, in 5, 10, 20 years. a lot of other niches, a lot of other focuses, I don't think it's the same there. With video games, I think that is far less evergreen. With news, that is far less evergreen. With tech, general consumer tech, I think it is far less evergreen. Think about an iPhone review. That's relevant for 1 year. Now, the audience is much bigger than the audience for a U87 review. So, over the life of a U87 review, maybe I'll get 100,000 views. But for an iPhone, you may get 1 million views. So, I guess there are some calculations to be had there. Is the evergreen nature the only factor that matters? Or does the potential audience matter as well? Or does that even matter at all? Is it just, I want to make a review of a U87, so I'm going to make a review of the U87, and hopefully people find that useful for years to come? I just started to confuse myself thinking, oh gosh, if I could only have 1 year where people would watch, would I want that? Would you? That's a question I want to put out to every single person who makes YouTube videos. Would you rather release a video that gets 10,000 views a year for 10 years? Or would you rather release a single video that gets 1 million views in 1 year? So the first option, you're not even getting to 1 million views. You're getting to 100,000. The other, you're getting 1 million views. But do you want that video to continue to be relevant for 10 years? Is that important to you? Or do you just want the views? That's an interesting question to me. I think personally, I would want the video that is helpful to people, that is relevant to people for 10 years. Sure, it may have a smaller audience, but I feel like that would make my time, the way that I spent my time, more justifiable. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I should just be thinking more views equals more money. So that makes it more I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you very much, Pags. I really do appreciate you. And I can't wait for you to retire so we can get more MEI Studio videos. Thank you very much. And lastly, we have a comment from Gallivanting Fox, and she says, "Today I learned that YouTube thinks I am a dude when gathering viewer data." Gallivanting Fox, thank you very much for the comment. Thank you for sharing that. Welcome to the Patriarchy. Now that you're one of us, I must ask you a question. How does it feel? How does it feel to be so powerful? To be able to oppress half of the population? You are now one of us. One of us. One of us. We accept her. One of us. Gooble gobble. Gooble gobble. One of us. One of us. Anybody who thought I hadn't lost my mind yet is now convinced it is fully gone. That is a reference to the 1932 Todd Browning film Freaks. I think I got the year right. Go watch it. Look up Google Gobble Freaks. Great movie. And I'm just joking around. I know somebody's probably going to get offended by that. Oh, you're joking about the Patriot. I'm goofing. It's a goof. It's a gaff. It's a goof. That is it for what you had to say. Let us jump to the value for value section because this is a V for V podcast. What that means, I do not put this behind a paywall. I do not put ads on it. I just make this show as well as I am able. I put it out there and you get to quantify the value that you get out of it. Is it $1? Is it $5? Is it $50? Is it a thumbnail's worth? Is it a short worth? Whatever you are able to do to help support the show, whether it be time, talent, or treasure, it really is helpful. We are if you want to support the show, you can do so through a super thanks on YouTube or go to podcastage.com/support and submit a contribution there. First up, we have €50 from TechMed Rainer Richter, and he says, "Danke." Rainer, thank you so much for the €50. You just continue to baffle me. Your generosity boggles my mind. It really does mean a lot. And your support helps keep the lights on, the bills paid, all of that. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. And secondly, we have $13.99 Canadian from Greg LG, and he says, "What are your 12 days of microphone choices for the year? Happy Christmas and hope your season is full of mistletoes." Greg, thank you very much for the 14 Canadian, and thank you for the incredibly difficult question. I do not have an answer for you as of yet. I am going to need to listen to that song over and over again and write my own 12 days of microphones for the year. That will take some time, but I will do that. And hopefully next week, which I typically would do favorites of the year, I think that's what I'll do again. I will do my best to have 12 days of microphones for the year. And although I likely will not sing the entire song because nobody wants that, nobody will want to suffer through that, I will read it to you in slam poetry style. Because you know what I've always thought, and I've never had the guts to say, the podcasting area, the podcasting format, there's just not enough slam poetry. Slam poetry is sorely underrepresented, and there needs to be more of that. Man, whoa, man. I got nothing. This is why I'm not an improviser. I got nothing, dude. That was just embarrassing. Just a complete mental glitch. Just trying. Words are hard. I don't know where I am in the yard. All alone, every single day, in the studio, on the Bandrew say. It's time to end the show. It is officially time to end the show because that was the worst thing I have ever done on this show. I am truly embarrassed right now. And sometimes I wonder why I'm still single. If any woman sees this, she's saying, oh, no. No. All right, that's going to wrap up this week. I appreciate you coming by. I know you could do anything with your time. There's so much amazing stuff out there vying for your attention. So the fact that you choose to spend any amount of time watching or listening to this really does mean the world to me. I appreciate you deeply. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will be back. I will be talking at you, with you, about something interesting and sharing 12 microphone days of the year. Until then, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Love you. Bye. Whoa. Whoa. Boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.
I gotta tell you, it is one of those days, bruh. I have just not been on my game at all. When I talk, it sounds like this. It sounds like mumble mouth. And all of my ideas are dumb, and I feel I've just been stressed to the gills. All week long, and I was thinking, you know what I really need? Just a cool, chill recording session. I just need to get my ideas out there. But I keep finding myself just screaming into the microphone, and nobody wants that. Can you tell I have been stressed? I have doodled a tornado. I have doodled a tornado on my physical notes. Is that indicative of what's going on inside? No one can know. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever. Who knows? This is a tornado. In case you were confused, in case I was confused in the future, if anybody finds this was a tornado. This is insane. Let's just get into it.